Socrates, I look up to this man a lot.
Okay.
He's probably he's one of my mentors.
Oh, got you.
He said the admissions of ignorance is the beginning of wisdom.
Mm-hmm.
So I just feel like that's part of self-love. You just look within yourself, know where you mess up, admit that you don't know, and just receive information from people who are older than you and wiser, you know?
Gotcha.
And just try to constantly improve yourself.
I think we're in a, as Black people as a whole, I think we're still in a place of healing as a community. You know, we had a pretty traumatic start in this country.
We did.
Like if you look at the whole of us and look at the whole as one, you know, it's like imagine a human being who spent their first 25 years, and if we're talking the 400-year history, and they spent as a person, they're 40, in their first 25 years they were abused and held captive, and then you just let them out into the world, and then they're like, for the next 15 years, they're trying to figure out how to be, and you have all of these broken, like he was saying. So we are at a point now where like looking into that stuff is something that we got to do more, because I'm not sure that enough of us seek that kind of help, enough of us go back into those traumas, into whatever may have happened, whether our family was broken or what.
But if I can challenge you a little bit on that, though, I have a different perspective.
Right.
You know, having grown up, you know, differently, didn't grow up in this country, but to the point you make, you know, there are a lot of Black men or just Black people in general who say exactly what you just said, and are not able to reconcile that dynamic. Especially, you know, you have Black men who will say exactly what you just said, but yet are going around, you know, having multiple kids with, you know, multiple women. So at some point, you know, the question of accountability also, because I think that there's always you know another side to the coin, which is for all of the trauma that you speak of, you know, in terms of the history of Black people in this country, there's still, we know better.
Of course,
That we should be able to. So you can't. And that it's not to undermine or diminish the experience and the trauma, but I think there's enough information, especially in today's world. There's enough information at our fingertips. You know, if you can afford an iPhone or whatever, there's enough information to educate yourself. But there's certain things that you can avoid doing, and
That's
so you
true,
can't.
But
I agree. Look, man, this is you may know something here, but if something is in here, it does not matter, bro.
right. No,
Like
that's
that
exactly what I
thing,
was gonna say.
if a thing happens to you when you're 4, 5, 6, 7, and you make a choice, this is what happens to it. We make choices when we're 6, 7, 8, 9 years old, based on a thing that might have happened, a thing that we saw in our community. I remember in my community, none of the dads were around. It was just a thing that was sort of ingrained. So while I might grow up
That's
and be
rooted
like,
in your core.
oh yeah, and I might be like, oh, I'm gonna be this amazing. There's something in our subconscious that maybe, especially if it's not dealt with. That's why I was agreeing with him. It's about dealing. It's not about not being accountable, because absolutely, I'm with you on that. But this thing that's ingrained that we fail to kind of go back and deal with, to root it out and like figure out why we're doing that. That I think that's where the
exactly,
point is being missed.
and it's kind of like fitness. Everybody knows what to eat.
Right, yeah.
You know how many fitness DVDs and ads and websites that you can go?
YouTube, it's
Nobody
everywhere.
will ever eat a cake and say, I know this shit is good for my stomach. You would never do that. But it's just rooted for gluttonous. It's just rooted for you to be a pig. In America, because you're constantly being advertised these things. You're after you finish eating, you're watching TV, there's still more food being thrown at your face. So that thing is being rooted in your subconscious mind to where you can know better, but it's so far ingrained in you that no matter what you know,
But to
you're
that
done.
point, to use the analogy you use about fitness, how is it that some people are able to because I'm not saying, to your point, I'm not saying don't eat the cake. Just
Anime.
strike a balance.
Yeah.
Anime, yeah, eat the cake and work out too. There's nothing wrong with going for a
do
walk or
both.
going for a run.
Yeah, but I just don't. I
It's-
think in this society we're not trained to really have focus and be dedicated on things.
But the
We're
information is
scatterbrained.
there.
The information is there, but it's still scatterbrained. Because look, you can read one successful thing, right, throughout the day, and then you go on Instagram and you're just seeing a variety of different things, different selections, and you're feeding that to your subconscious mind. Excuse me. So it's like you lose your ability to really focus on one thing for a certain period of time
Got you.
because you're everywhere.
So my question
It's
to
like
you
it's like poverty.
no, I
Poverty, like,
It's a mindset.
there is a reason why 90% of people that win the lottery are broke again
Right.
in like 4 or 5 years. This is
Yeah.
a fact. People are, if you generationally have been poor, you from the time you were 2, you've seen your mom in the kitchen, like the bills, don't answer the phone, it's the electric comes, it's the
Yeah,
water,
right.
and it's ingrained in you, I'm poor. When that money comes to you,
Don't know.
$10 million,
Everything.
you almost, it doesn't make sense logically,
Buy. You
to,
buy
but you almost feel more comfortable with $120 in the bank. So you subconsciously are doing everything you can
To get rid of that
get
money.
rid of that shit. You're letting people borrow. You're buying cars. You got
Right.
your uncle's, your cousin, your third cousin that you haven't talked. I mean, it's
Yeah.
that kind of thing that I feel really like there's a deep thing that we as a community
Exactly.
are not facing and
Question
need to
I would
when
love
it comes
bring
to
up
relationships.
that is self-love.
Yeah,
And I think,
yeah.
like, what do you guys do for self-love? Because some people say, yeah, that's my better half in terms of your significant other, but I think you should be whole.
Amen.
That person should be whole. One and one come together, make more than two.
Yeah.
I mean,
So-
and for me, I think, to the point about self-love, being able to have as honest a conversation with yourself as possible. I remember when I was
Frequently.
younger, when I was younger, I remember, crying one time, and I walked past a mirror, and I caught, an image of myself, and I stopped and came back, and I looked in the mirror, and I was crying. I was like, what? I don't remember what I was crying about. But I remember, like, I stopped, came back in the mirror, and all of a sudden I'm looking at myself crying, and I started laughing. And for some reason, that thing has stuck with me
Forever.
because all of a sudden it was like I saw myself in a different way, and it was almost like subconsciously challenged myself to stop crying, and I started laughing. And to now as an adult, I'm always, you get,
Sound like
we have a
you're
saying,
vulnerable to
we have a
yourself,
saying,
right?
your story always sounds best to you. So you always, when you're telling, when somebody has done you wrong, you're like, man, that guy, he's this, and you never for a second even consider that you may have done something that, that may have led to, whatever the other person did to you. And for me, believing that, I believe in holding myself accountable and holding,
Yeah.
Looking in, in the mirror and going, yeah, I screwed that one up. That was my fault. And that's, that's why X, Y, and Z happened. Or, I mean, I haven't been, head of a department running, having a staff of over, 50 people. When, someone comes to your office and is complaining about another person, it's like, okay, you're supposed to guide them and make them, to motivate them to be better, but at the same time, it's also, giving them the chance to be able to hold themselves, accountable. Yeah. And so for me, self-love is just always be able to have an honest conversation with yourself. regardless of-
I agree with that. Socrates, I look up to this man a lot.
Okay.
He's probably he's one of my mentors.
Oh, got you.
He said the admissions of ignorance is the beginning of wisdom. So I just feel like that's part of self-love. You just look within yourself, know where you mess up, admit that you don't know, and just receive information from people who are older than you and wiser,
Gotcha.
And just try to constantly improve yourself and just be good and just understand that you're connected to every human here.
Right.
You feel what they feel. This planet is your home, not just Brooklyn, where I'm from. You know what I'm saying? Just when you love yourself, really and truly, I feel like you start loving everybody as if it's yourself. and you realize like we're all just connected.
Okay, and you sound like you had some
I mean,
self-love experiences, maybe a few tips out there.
Yeah, I mean, I think self-love is a routine. You know what I mean? Love, period, is action. So what are the things that I can take action on a consistent basis that, you know, lead me to a greater enlightenment and feeling good about myself? You know what I mean? To your point earlier, I think a lot of people look for, you know, my better half. I got to be whole. And the things that make me whole, you know, communing with Source, you know, praying to God, aligning with the universe, you know, working out, reading good texts, you know, spending time with music, doing the things that love on me first. And once I'm full and have loved on me, my cup runneth over and I have enough to give to you. But if I don't give it to me first, I don't have anything to give to you. You know, I think a lot of times relationships don't work because your cup is way down here, and you're looking for someone to fill it up, you know?
You gotta save yourself first, you know? That's why on the plane they tell you, put your oxygen mask on first before you help another person.
Yeah.
Okay.
So from now on, I'm going to start using runneth. So
Runneth.
Runneth.
Runneth over.
That Psalms 23.
Surely.
Get it, boy.
I'd be runneth on my way to I don't even know how to use that shit. Are you on your way, babe? Yeah, I'm running. I'm going to run it after I stop and get some food. But that's great. I agree with you, man.
Well,
That's
I also have one other last tip before we wrap on self-love. For me, self-love is just like saying yes to yourself to things you normally say no to yourself with. So for me, I put this.
That could be dangerous.
Well, I mean, like for one key example, like AirPods. I waited 8 months just to buy a pair of AirPods for me. I was like, no, you're not ready for it. You're not ready. It's $150. Like, why not just get what you want at that period in time? Congratulate yourself and just move on and just like enjoy. Oh, first class is $100 extra. Maybe I'll do that, or maybe
I see what you said.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I save like 10% of my income to do small things when
upgrade
opportunity
yourself.
arises.
Richest man in Babylon.
So it's just like, why don't you just put something aside so that you can say yes to all the small things that you say no to? Because those small no's add up to just like no love for yourself. And then at the end of the day, like you're trying to love someone else, but you can't even say yes to yourself. And you've been saying yes to work, you say yes to like family members, but you always say no to yourself. So if anyone could take away some things from today, like that little 10%, 5%, 2% of your income, save it for those little yes moments. Yes, I would like dessert. Sorbet, please. Thank you.